Hey guys, welcome back to NFL Trading Room. My name is Ben, and today we've got another fun video for you. We're going to be going over my fourth mock draft for the 2026 NFL Draft, starting to get a lot more of these profiles finished as far as the grading goes, and we'll continue to do that through the playoffs, and of course those games will be an important factor in a lot of prospects' grades, so we'll certainly have to keep tabs on that, but super excited to dive into this mock draft. Let's go ahead and get started. Also, quick disclaimer, as we say in all videos, the Big Ten is blocking all 22 film, so just keep that in mind as we go throughout this mock draft. Won't be able to show clips for guys like Carnell Tate, Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore, guys like that, anyone in the Big Ten, so just keep that in mind as we do this mock draft. All right, getting started, so we're going to be on the PFF mock draft simulator. Starting at first overall, it is going to be the Las Vegas Raiders, and I think this one's pretty simple. They're going to go with Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza is still my quarterback one, although by a thin margin. But yes, he is still my quarterback one. Can make all the throws in the book. He's got great size at 6'5", 225. Has the arm talent. Has enough mobility to be able to extend and make plays. Has incredible accuracy to all three levels of the field, and will stand in there and take hits within the pocket. Which is certainly a necessity behind that current Raiders offensive line. It's pretty rough over there, so definitely want to get that built up around him. But this would be the first step in turning that Raiders franchise around, I think. And I think Fernando Mendoza absolutely worthy of the first overall pick here. You can bring him in, and he starts right immediately. Next up at second overall, the Giants are on the clock, but I'm actually going to have a trade here. I'm going to have the New York Jets trade up here to second overall, so trading up one spot. And what I decided to do was to give the Giants pick 35 and 46. The reason I decided to do this on the draft calculator, if you go by the GM draft pick calculator, 3 and 18 would have been about the same value as 3, 35, and 46. But once you get into that probably 20 to 50 range, there's not as much difference in each of those prospects as maybe in past drafts. So I think the Giants would rather have those picks 35 and 46. And plus, if you're trading up for a quarterback, you've got to overpay a little bit, especially when you've got some competition, potentially trying to trade up like Arizona, Cleveland, teams like that, trying to trade up for a quarterback. So this is what I decided to go with as far as the package. Of course, that probably won't be exactly what happens, but that's just a mock trade to try to get us as close to realistic as we can be. But at second overall, the Jets are going to take another quarterback. It is going to be Oregon's Dante Moore. Dante Moore just continues to impress down the stretch to me. Has just been really impressive to close the season, and looks forward to a big playoff run as far as his draft stock goes. And we'll certainly see what he looks like against that Texas Tech defense. This is being recorded one day before Oregon faces off against Texas Tech, so that will certainly be a fun watch. But Dante Moore, the quickest release, I think, in this class, and for someone that's relatively still inexperienced, just shows a lot of that cerebral aspect of his play in the quarterback position. Just understands defensive coverages, gets the ball where it needs to go, has great accuracy, has the arm talent. Not necessarily, going to be a designed read option threat, but definitely athletic enough to be able to extend and make plays outside of the pocket. Just an overall really good quarterback prospect, and a guy that's certainly going to go early in the first round, and certainly will declare once Oregon's season comes to a close at some point. So next up at number 3, now after trading back, it is the New York Giants on the clock. And I'm going to take my top overall receiver, that is Carnell Tate, the receiver out of Ohio State. Just did the receiver rankings about a week ago, so if you've tuned into that, thank you. And if you did tune into that, you saw Carnell Tate was my wide receiver 1. Just a true X receiver that can play on the outside, is a legit deep threat, can run any route in the book, has 0 drops on the season, is fantastic in contested situations. I believe he's 10 for 13, which is an insane rate for contested catch situations. But just all around excellent football player. You combine him with Malik Neighbors there up in New York, and that is a dynamic receiver duo, and just gives Jackson Dart yet another weapon to throw to. Hopefully, Jackson Dart can take a step in terms of his processing, so Carnell Tate's skill set can be used to its maximum. But this would just be a really great pick for New York. Of course, you can argue Sonny Styles or arvell Reese here at linebacker. You can argue corner, you can argue safety, but I chose to give Jackson Dart a weapon here. Next up at fourth overall is my Tennessee Titans, and I'm going to take arvell Reese, the linebacker slash edge out of Ohio State. In this situation, I would probably move him to edge, but certainly can play off-ball linebacker. He's super athletic. Ohio State hasn't used him at edge a bunch down the stretch here, which is interesting. They've used him much more as an off-ball linebacker, but excellent spy on quarterback spies. Even when at off-ball linebacker, he's a great blitzer, obviously a good pass rusher from the edge, and continuing to develop his coverage instincts. So he could be a full-time off-ball linebacker at the next level. He could be a full-time edge. He could be a hybrid of both. I think in this specific scenario, the Titans would move him to edge, but certainly he can play all over the defense and is certifiably, I think, a top 5 player for everyone in this draft cycle. Next up at number 5, it is the Arizona Cardinals, and they have got a lot of holes. So I just decided to go best player available here according to my big board, and that is Sonny Styles, the linebacker out of Ohio State. So 3 straight Buckeyes here. But Sonny Styles is the top overall player on my board right now. 6'4", 243, I believe, is the measurement. Insanely athletic. Doesn't miss tackles really at all. That was something I was concerned with coming into the year. He has completely cleaned that up. The coverage instincts are absolutely there. He's physical. He's lengthy. He's powerful. He sheds blocks with authority. Just an excellent football player. And you put him on that Cardinals defense, that just improves everything around him. And that's an excellent building block, getting that defense back to where it needs to be. Next up is the Cleveland Browns here at number 6. Of course, they are in range for a quarterback here. Obviously could trade up. But I'm going to go with a weapon, and that is going to be Jordan Tyson, the receiver out of Arizona State. Tyson, if he wasn't hampered with injuries so constantly, would probably be my wide receiver 1. When you watch him when he is healthy, it's insane to see him, how fluid he is as a route runner. The hands are super consistent. This year he hasn't been as consistent in contested situations as he was last year, but I think some of that is due to the injuries. And you see him battling through injuries out there, just a real warrior on the field. So Jordan Tyson, if the medicals check out, I think is easily a top 10 player in this in this NFL draft class, and just a really good football player. Would be a really good weapon over there in Cleveland. You pair him with Cedric Tillman, who is more of that X receiver. You could put Jordan Tyson at Z and maybe Jerry Jeudy in the slot. I know Jeudy and Tillman haven't been great this year. They've been a little disappointing, as has most of that Cleveland offense, but still a decent upside with either of those players. And you add Jordan Tyson to the mix there, you're starting to build what could be a nice receiver core moving forward. Next up at 7th overall is the Washington Commanders, and they need a lot. Sometimes I've chosen to give them weapons in pass mocks, but I'm going to go with defense here. I'm going to take Ruben Bain, the edge rusher out of Miami. Ruben Bain, there's been a lot of talk about his arm length and how concerning that may be as far as his draft stock goes, but I'm not really concerned with it at all. He would be an outlier for guys with that short of arms to succeed at the NFL level, but I don't think there's ever been a guy with those arm measurements that has been as dominant as Ruben Bain is. The power he possesses, the run defense, the shock in his hands when he's bull rushing, all of it just makes him an exceptional football player. He's a good athlete. He's able to turn the corner at 6'3", 275 pounds. So Ruben Bain is just a really fun player to watch. Really solid player. May never be an all-pro caliber edge rusher, but I think he's going to be a pretty consistent Pro Bowler at the next level. Would be a really nice add to that Washington defense. Next up at 8th overall is the New Orleans Saints, and early in the season it looked like they may be going in the quarterback direction, but Tyler Shough really has impressed once he got the starting job about at the midpoint of the season. So it looks like Tyler Shough is going to be their guy moving forward. And so I chose to give them a weapon to continue to help out Tyler Shough, and that is going to be Mekhi Lemon, the receiver out of USC. Saints already have Chris Olave. Chris Olave is really good. Another 1,000-yard receiver from him. I believe he's got 100 catches as well, so a really productive season from him. But you also add Mekhi Lemon to that mix, and that becomes instantly, I think, one of the more dangerous receiver duos in the NFL. Chris Olave, you've got the athletic juice and the ability to separate down the field, and then Mekhi Lemon at 5'11", 190 pounds. He certainly doesn't play like he's that small. He's got exceptional hands. He's, I think, the best route runner in this class, able to separate horizontally, maybe not as much vertically on the outside, but I think he's mostly a slot. He can definitely play Z, but he may struggle with press coverage on the outside. I don't think he struggles with press coverage on when he's in the slot position, which is interesting. But able to have great breaks in and out of his route stem, just really quick feet, a great run blocker. He gives a lot of effort in that phase, and he's really tough after the catch. So really, he gives you everything you could want at that 5'11", 190-pound size. I think he would pair greatly with Chris Olave and give the Saints an electric wide receiver duo. Next up are the Kansas City Chiefs here at number 9, and they certainly did not expect to be here, but they do find themselves on the board in the top 10. I think this has to be pass rusher if you're picking this high. They have really struggled to get after the passer from the edge. Of course, they have Chris Jones, one of the best D tackles in the NFL. That's a great pass rusher from the interior, but got to improve that edge room. And while I debated on this, because you look at the edges that I would have going in this range, for me it was either David Bailey or Keldrick Falk. David Bailey I have graded higher, but Keldrick Falk fit more of that Steve Spagnuolo style. He's 6'6", 285 pounds, really defends the run. But I think there needs to be just a slight philosophy change over there in Kansas City. So I'm going to go with David Bailey. Steve Spagnuolo is one of the best defensive minds in the sport, but he needs some edge rushers that can, burn it from the edge and really get after the passer. And David Bailey is exactly that. He cannot defend the run at all, really, and he just really struggles in that phase of the game. But he just is an exceptional pass rusher. Really, the bull rush, the swim move, the spin move, the rip move, all of it is exceptional. Really good athlete. The closing speed is exceptional. And man, you put him on that Chiefs defense and you have David Bailey and Chris Jones as your top 2 pass rushers. That's when you start to get after the quarterback and start to strike fear into offenses once again. And while he may not fit what the Chiefs want stylistically right now, I think it's time to get more of that pass rushing archetype in that defense and start to heat up the quarterback, especially with the quarterbacks that will be considering this mock entering the AFC West. So definitely got to start getting after the passer. I think this is a building block to getting that defense back to where it needs to be. Next up at 10th overall, the Bengals are on the clock, and I'm going to take my top player left as of right now that is healthy, and that is Caleb Downs, the safety out of Ohio State. The reason I mentioned that is healthy is I do have one player left above Caleb Downs that does have some injury concerns, so that may knock him down the board a little bit. But Caleb Downs, exceptional football player, as good a safety as you're going to find in the modern NFL or in the modern draft cycle. Just really smart. Tackles really well. He's versatile. He plays deep safety. He plays split high safety. He plays in the box. He plays at star. He can play anywhere. And you add him to that Bengals defense, which their safeties have really struggled here in 2025, and you instantly upgrade that room. He can be the quarterback of the defense at safety and get everybody aligned, which he does at Ohio State from time to time. And you just add that floor and the ceiling to that defense, instantly improves that defense, makes them way better. Would be an excellent pick for the Bengals here. Next up at 11th overall, the Dolphins are on the clock. And this is the player I was just mentioning. It is Jermod McCoy, the cornerback out of Tennessee. Jermod McCoy did not see the field in 2025 due to a knee injury in January of 2025. He tore his ACL in a training session and just never really felt fully comfortable enough to be able to come back for Tennessee this football season. But hopefully he's healthy for the combine and for pro day and all those things, so he's able to showcase what type of player he is at those combine events. But Jermod McCoy is just, you go back to the 2024 tape, I think he's easily a top 5 player for me, just based on his 2024 tape. Electric change of direction. He's able to mirror receivers exceptionally well. Really quick feet. May not have the burning top end speed, but he doesn't really get stacked vertically all that much. And really good man coverage corner. has elite eyes and zone coverage. I think his best rep of the season was against Oklahoma last year, where he's playing the cloud flat in a cover two, and just baits Jackson Arnold into an interception. It was a really beautiful play to watch, and he's a former receiver as well, so the ball skills are exceptional. Had 4 interceptions and a bunch of pass breakups last year for Tennessee. Just a really, really good football player. Instantly improves that Dolphins cornerback room that desperately needs a talented football player in that room, and just it continues to improve that defense. They're going to need a lot of assets to continue to improve that defense, but this is an excellent starting point to getting that defense back to where it has been a couple years ago. Next up, the Los Angeles Rams are on the clock here at 12th overall. This is the pick they got from Atlanta in the James Pierce trade last draft. And I'm going to go with another corner here. It is going to be LSU corner Mansour Delane. Delane is CB1 for some because of McCoy's injuries, but I still have him as CB2, but that's no slight to Delane. Delane is still a really, really good football player, makes plays on the football, really good man coverage corner, has the eyes and the anticipation and zone coverage to be able to thrive. And the Rams, it's kind of hard to find a hole on their roster on paper. Their defense is really, really good, but I do think if you could improve one section of that defense, it would be the cornerback room. It's not that they're bad, but it definitely could be better. So getting Mansour Delane in that room, I think instantly makes that room better. And you take that scheme with a possibly elite corner, and that just completely changes things, makes them even more fearsome to go against. Next up, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the clock here at 13th overall. And I chose to go with who is a my guy for me. That is Olavavega Awane, the guard out of Penn State. I've been super high on Awane since the summer. He was my, I believe, 11th overall player coming into the season, coming out of summer. And he currently rests at number 7 on my current draft board. So that tells you how much I like Awane. But the Bucs have really struggled here down the stretch. I think some of that is due to the interior of the offensive line. Of course, you've got Cody Mock, who I believe is injured right now. You've got Tristan Wirfs at left tackle. You've got Luke Gedeke at right tackle, who are really solid pieces. And then you've got Graham Barton at center, who's another solid piece. But Olavavega Awane, you check him in at left guard. That makes that offensive line really, really good. Probably one of the 5 best in the NFL at that point. And just Awane as a player, really, really powerful hands, excellent in pass protection. The hand placement is precise. It's strong. The snatch trap is really good. And as a run blocker, I don't think he's quite as dominant as he may have been last year, but he's still a really good run blocker. Down blocking, zone blocking, able to get up to the second level, even in duo, working off double teams up to the second level. Just a really, really all-around good football player. Has the length on the interior, has the hand placement, has the strength, has the athleticism. There's really nothing that you could want more out of Awane, in my opinion, outside of there are some times where the balance is a bit of a concern, but I don't think that's too prevalent. But Awane is not my top ranked overall player, but my favorite football player in this draft class. Really, really love his game, and he would be an excellent addition here for the Buccaneers at 13th. Next up is the Dallas Cowboys at 14th overall, and I'm going to go running back here. It is going to be Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love is electric. He's the best running back in this class by a mile. I think he's right up there with Ashton Jeanty from last year in terms of grade. But Jeremiah Love, insanely explosive, has shown a lot more of the pass catching ability this year, which you love to see. Really, really shifty. The vision is really good. The only thing I would criticize with him is the pass protection. It's not great. And if you're going to survive on third down at the next level, that's got to improve. But I don't think there's any doubt that that will improve at the next level. And just overall has that home run ability that Dallas could use at the running back position. Javonte Williams has been really good for them. But I think he's probably going to hit free agency. Don't know that Dallas is going to bring him back. So you take, your first round pick, you spend it on a guy like Jeremiah Love that gives you a cheap option, explosive option, just a really, really good football player in Jeremiah Love to add to that offense. Next up at 15th overall is the Detroit Lions, and I've been making this pick for them pretty consistently in my mock drafts. That is going to be Colton Hood, the corner out of Tennessee. Colton Hood had an excellent season for Tennessee. Really had to step up once Uh, Ricky Gibson went down, who was Tennessee's other corner besides Jermod McCoy. Of course, they were both out for the season with injury, so Colton Hood really had to step into that starting role, and boy, did he shine. He was exceptional at outside corner for Tennessee. Fits that physical mentality that Detroit always looks for, um, and fits that man coverage style that they want to play, but he's also a good zone coverage player. The recovery speed is great. If he does get beat, he's able to recover and close the gap and make a play on the football. And Detroit has really struggled at corner this year. They struggled elsewhere as well. That team has kind of disappointed in a lot of people's eyes. But I think corner is where you start in improving this overall team. And Colton Hood's a really, really good football player. You add that to the room, that defense gets immediately better. Next up at number 16 is the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm going to go with my top offensive lineman still on the board. That is Francis Mauigoa, the right tackle out of Miami. Now, in this situation, he would not play tackle. He would be moved to right guard. I think he can play both tackle and guard at the next level. But for this specific situation, we would move him to guard. The Ravens, you have Ronnie Stanley at left tackle. You have Roger Rosengarten at right tackle. So you move Francis Mauigoa into right guard, which Daniel Faalele is playing right now, and he has been really, really bad in 2025. And so you move Francis Mauigoa into that right guard position. That offensive line instantly gets better. Hopefully for them, they can bring back Tyler Linderbaum, have him at center, and then you've got a really, really good offensive line there, able to protect Lamar Jackson and block for Derrick Henry in the run game. But overall, Francis Mauigoa, really good hands. The grip strength is great. Just really good athlete, can get out in space and block. He's a vicious down blocker, just a really overall good football player, really high floor, high ceiling as well, and would be a perfect fit, I think, here in Baltimore. Quick break in the mock draft. Just if you wouldn't mind to go down below, drop a like, drop a comment, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That will let us know that you're enjoying the content, and we'll continue to bring more content like this to you throughout the draft season. Let's get it back into the mock draft. All right, at 17th overall, it is the Minnesota Vikings. And this was a bit of a weird fit for me to find a player for, but we're going to go with linebacker C.J. Allen out of Georgia. C.J. Allen is just a great athlete. He's continued to improve as far as his zone coverage instincts. He's able to change direction and survive in man coverage as well. And he's continued to improve as a run defender, taking on blocks, able to shoot the gap, tackling people in the backfield, blowing up run plays. He's also a good blitzer as well. So you put a versatile defender like that into a Brian Flores scheme, which he may not be the defense coordinator next year. He's been so good that he'll probably get another head coaching opportunity somewhere. But hopefully for them, he can stay as their defense coordinator, and you give him a piece like C.J. Allen. That is an exceptional piece to be able to use across the defensive formation for Brian Flores. So would be another exceptional pick here, and continues to improve that defense. And C.J. Allen is just overall a really, really good football player. Next up at pick 18 is the New York Jets. And this is the pick they got from the Colts in the Ahmad Sauce Gardner trade. So the Colts, when they made that trade, we actually did a mock draft right after the trade deadline, and that pick was at 32nd. But of course, we all know how the Colts have fared as the season has worn on since the trade deadline. So this pick is all the way up at 18, could end up even higher. But we obviously took quarterback with the Jets' first pick after they traded up for the Giants' pick. And here we're going to give Dante Moore a weapon. It is going to be Washington wide receiver Denzel Boston. Denzel Boston was a guy I liked in summer scouting. I believe he was in my top 30, but I really like his 2025 tape. He is in my top 15 as it currently stands. Solidified first-round grade for me. He's 6'4", 209 pounds, can win at that X receiver position, able to run any route in the book. I don't think he'll consistently threaten deep down the field as a deep threat, because I don't know that the speed is necessarily there, the long speed. But insanely crafty as a route runner. He's got wiggle to him. I think he's really similar to Michael Pittman Jr., and the hands are great. He catches everything. He has a wide catch radius. He's great in contested situations as well. And you pair him with Garrett Wilson. You can move Garrett Wilson to Z, and that becomes, like we mentioned with the Saints, with Mekhi Lemon and Chris Olave, Denzel Boston and Garrett Wilson would be a really, really good wide receiver duo. Makes that one of the better ones in the NFL at that. Next up at 19th overall, it is the Carolina Panthers, and I've been pretty consistent in picking edge rusher for them throughout this process, and I'm going to do that once again with Auburn edge Keldrick Falk. Keldrick Falk didn't break out as much as we would thought in 2025. The tools are certainly there, but a lot of people coming into the year had him as a top 5 player. I wasn't necessarily that high on him, but I was high on him, and it just didn't come all the way together for him in 2025. But I still believe in the tools. He's 6'6", 285 pounds, great length, explosive off the ball. Not necessarily the most flexible player, but I think he's flexible for his size. And just a really, really good run defender. I think he might be the best run defender at the edge position in this class. For the Panthers, Nick Scorton was a guy they picked in the second round this past draft, and he's really started to improve as the year has gone on. And you pair him with the bigger-bodied Keldrick Falk, I think that becomes a really nice edge duo. Keldrick Falk may never be a guy that gets you 10 sacks or gets you a 20% pressure rate, but I think he's going to be a solid pass rusher with elite run defense. So I think that would be a really, really productive pick for the Panthers, continuing to build that defense. Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the clock at 20th overall, and I've said it all along. I believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to retire when I see it. So I chose to go offensive line here. It is going to be Spencer Fano, the tackle out of Utah. I think he's going to stick at tackle. Some people have him as a guard or even a center in some cases, but I've got him as a tackle. With him, this would be an interesting fit in Pittsburgh because they've already got Troy Fautanu on the right side. How I would think about this is that Fautanu slides to left tackle, which I believe he has played before. I believe he played that some at Washington. And then you keep Spencer Fano at right tackle, which is what he plays for Utah. But Spencer Fano, just really, really athletic, probably the most athletic offensive lineman in this class. Probably, it's not a probably, it's a fact. He is the most athletic offensive lineman in this class. Moves his feet exceptionally well. And I wasn't as high on him as I explained in past mock drafts that we've done as I was coming into the year. I believe I had him as my 5th overall player coming into the year. Combed back through some of his later season tape and continued. I saw some of that 2024 Spencer Fano rear its head again, which I love to see. Saw some more of that tenacity in the run game, saw more of that ability to mirror edge rushers, keep the inside and the outside clean, and the hand usage was still there. So I think this would be a really nice pick for Pittsburgh. Broderick Washington at left tackle hasn't been great at all, so you move Fautanu to the left side, Spencer Fano at right tackle, gives you a really, really nice tackle duo for the future. Next up at pick 21, it is the Dallas Cowboys. This is the pick they got from Green Bay in the Micah Parsons trade. Can't replace Micah Parsons, but I have gone with the edge position for them quite often in our mock drafts, but I chose to go in a different direction here. I'm going to give them cornerback Avion Terrell out of Clemson. They just cut Trayvon Diggs, which I expected. He hasn't been good at all this year. And I believe they extended Deron Bland. If it's not been recently, it's been within the past year. But you have Deron Bland on the outside. You've got Avion Terrell on the other side. Some think he can play slot. I think he can survive at outside corner. But Avion Terrell is always around the football. He forces a ton of fumbles, especially for a corner. He's really got that to his game. That's something rare for a corner. I really like to see that. Really good man coverage corner, has the change of direction and the fluidity to stick with receivers in those situations. And I think the zone IQ has continued to improve as well. So just all around a really, really good football player, has that dog mentality, has that see ball, get ball mentality. So you put that in that Dallas defense, instantly gives them a corner that I think you can build around and improves that defense. Next up at 22nd overall, it is the Los Angeles Chargers. And for me, this becomes, well, who's your top interior offensive lineman remaining on the board? Obviously, Vega Owane isn't here, but I've got Chase Basantis, the left guard out of Texas A&M, going here to the Chargers. The Chargers offensive line, without, obviously, Joe Walt and Rashawn Slater both have been out for the year. That's, I think, the best tackle duo in the NFL, which certainly hasn't helped. But, man, it has been awful for Justin Herbert behind that offensive line. Justin Herbert's doing everything he can to try to make that work, but We saw it especially in the Texans game this past week. They really, really got after Herbert. The Chargers weren't able to protect at all. Um, and it was really tough to see because I like Justin Herbert. He's a really fun quarterback to watch, but man, behind that offensive line, it's rough. But Chase Basantis, I think this is a great fit here because he is an excellent pass protector. Uh, he's a former tackle. He played right tackle for Texas A&M his true freshman year, has since transitioned to guard, and you can see that tackle background in his play. He's got good feet. His hand placement is really refined in pass pro. He's able to mirror more athletic defensive linemen that rush from the interior. I don't think he's the run blocker that Vega Owane is, but I don't think he's that bad in the run game either. I think he's probably above average in that category, but can do it, in both ways. He pulls. He's also a down blocker. He can work to the second level in zone. He can reach block. He can double team and work up in duo. He can really do it all. May just not be to that elite level that you sometimes see from certain guard classes. But Chase Basantis overall, really, really good pass protector on the interior, instantly improves that offensive line. And you put him next to Rashawn Slater, that's a really, really good left side to keep Justin Herbert's blind side clean. Next up at 23rd overall, it is the Buffalo Bills. For me, I've been pretty consistent with this at receiver. The name has changed a couple times, but this time I'm going to be going with Texas A&M receiver KC Concepcion. My receiver rankings that I dropped, KC Concepcion was my wide receiver 5. Buffalo may be looking for a bigger receiver, especially since they have Khalil Shakir, but KC Concepcion I think can play the Z since you have Shakir in the slot. Concepcion is just an electric athlete. He's got really quick feet. He's an electric route runner. I think really the only portion of his game that you can criticize him for outside of the size is the hands. The hands have improved since last year, but still there are some concerns with his hands. I think he body catches too often. I think that leads to the drop rate that we see. I believe it's around 9% last time I checked. So KC Concepcion, if he can improve that, he can be a really, really good receiver. Gets a ton of separation in his routes. And he's proven that he's more than just a gadget guy, which NC State for some reason used him like that last season. He's proven he's a true receiver that can win both from the slot and on the outside. And there have been a lot of missed opportunities left on the table for KC Concepcion. Marcel Reed certainly is not the most accurate quarterback, and there have been a lot of times where KC Concepcion has about 4 steps on a corner going deep down the field, and Marcel Reed just misses him. So KC Concepcion certainly could have had a better statistical season if Marcel Reed hit on more of those, but you put him with Josh Allen, gives him that deep threat, able to threaten the defense down the field. I think that instantly improves that Buffalo offense and opens up a lot of that middle of the field for guys like Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, and if they go back to using James Cook in the passing game, more of that middle of the field area. All right, now at pick 24, the Rams are back on the clock, and I explained it with their 12th overall pick. On paper, there's not a lot of holes here, so I kind of decided to go with a luxury pick here for the Rams, and I decided to go with Caleb Banks, the interior defensive lineman out of Florida. For the Rams, at their second pick, I've been going with offensive tackle a lot because Rob Havenstein is getting up there in age, and Warren McClendon had some good games the last time we did a mock draft, but wanted to see a bigger sample size. He has been fantastic. That has been one of the bigger surprises along the offensive line anywhere in the NFL has been Warren McClendon and how he's played at right tackle for the Los Angeles Rams. But that has kind of deterred me away from taking tackle here. You've got Alaric Jackson on the left side. You've got Warren McClendon on the right side. And if they keep playing how they're playing, then that's a really good tackle duo moving forward. And I believe Alaric Jackson is at least locked up on contract for one more season. So, but Caleb Banks, you've already got a good defensive line room there. You've got Braden Fisk. You've got Kobe Turner. They just don't have a guy the profile of Caleb Banks. Caleb Banks is 6'6", 330 pounds, moves like an edge rusher. He's got super long arms. He's a powerful player. He's an excellent pass rusher. He's got a lot of juice to him in that phase of the game. He's got a real solid, tangible pass rush plan. The one thing that may have him slide down the board, he did come back and play late in the season against Tennessee, against Florida State, and showed that he's still got that level of play to him, but he did miss 9 out of the 12 games that Florida played in 2025. And while he may be healthy, that may still knock him down some people's boards. So that is certainly something to consider. But man, you put him with that Rams front. You've got Jared Verse, you've got Braden Fisk, you've got Kobe Turner, you've got Poona Ford, who's that run stuffer in the middle. You've got Byron Young, who I believe is on an expiring deal. If not, next year will be the last year of his deal. But he's been awesome this year. He's made his first Pro Bowl. That Rams defense is just, especially that front, has just been really, really surprising and awesome to watch. And you inject Caleb Banks into that, that becomes like to me, a 2024 Philadelphia Eagles type defensive line in terms of, man, I can't believe this is what we have to go against, this week if we're an offensive line. Just would be really scary to scheme up against and block against. So that would be, to me, just it is a luxury pick for the Rams. But man, you add that talent. If Caleb Banks hits his ceiling, for me, he was my number 2 overall player coming into the year. If he hits his ceiling, man, that becomes maybe the best defensive line in the NFL, in my opinion. Next up at 25th overall, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles here. For me, I decided to go with offensive line here. Could certainly argue edge rusher, but I went with Oregon guard Emmanuel Pregnon. Landon Dickerson is a good football player, but he hasn't played all that well this year. And then Tyler Steen on the right side certainly hasn't been that great. So I believe in this situation you could move either Pregnon or Dickerson, whichever one is more comfortable, to the right side. But Pregnon, he was the guy I liked in summer. Wasn't that high on him, but I liked him. He was at USC in 2024, transferred over to Oregon for 2025. And he just plays with a lot of effort. He plays with a lot of power. He's a really good puller. He's a good down blocker. Not an insane athlete, not the athlete that Chase Basantis or Olave Vega Owane is, but still a serviceable athlete, able to work up to the second level. I still think the hand placement still needs some refining. The latch on ability may not always be there, but he's still a powerful player and is a plus in both the run game and the pass game. So just gives you another option on that offensive line, and then you could move on to an offensive line of Jordan Mailata, Emmanuel Pregnon, Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson, and Lane Johnson over there on that right side. So I think that would get that offensive line back to where it needs to be. And of course, the offensive line coach there in Philly, Jeff Stoutland, does an incredible job with offensive line prospects. So would love to see Emmanuel Pregnon be able to study under a guy like Jeff Stoutland. So I think this is a really dream pick for me in that Eagles scheme. Next up at pick 26, it is the Houston Texans, and my message for them has been the same throughout the draft season. It is protect C.J. Stroud, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to go with, see how far down the board he is. This is probably the biggest my guy in this draft class for me. It is, not Oregon. It is Arizona State offensive tackle Max Ihenokor, I think is how you pronounce it, but he has been really, really impressive for me, especially the Texas Tech game. I haven't seen any offensive tackle be able to handle the Texas Tech's edge rush duo like Max Ihenokor did. Just really, really impressive outing for him. Continuing to watch games on him, I was still impressed. Not going to be the run blocker that you may want there, but is exceptional in pass protection. Really good athlete. The hand placement was better than I thought it would be going into the film review. And you can put him at right tackle. You've got Ariante Ursery at left tackle. And then you can either bench Titus Howard or you can move Titus Howard into right guard where he has been better on the interior. So a great pick here for Houston. Builds up that offensive line, continuing to protect C.J. Stroud. Next up at pick 27, it is the Cleveland Browns. This is the pick they got from Jacksonville in the Travis Hunter trade. And here I'm going to go offensive line for them. It is going to be Trevor Gooseby, the tackle out of Texas. I hadn't mocked him in a while because it was a bit unclear whether he was going to declare or not. He still hasn't declared yet. Texas, once they get finished with their bowl game against Michigan, he will make his decision. But what he showed in the latter stages of this season started a little bit rough against Ohio State, but has really come on late in the season. I think he's worthy of a first-round selection. Absolutely, has the traits, has the size, has the measurables, has the athleticism, has the strength. He's got it all, and you put that on that offensive line in Cleveland. That Cleveland offensive line was good a few years ago, but it's definitely aged and regressed as the seasons have gone on. So you put a talented guy like Trevor Goosby on that offensive line that helps that run game, that helps keep Shadur Sanders clean if he's who they choose to roll with in 2026. So really, really solid selection here for the Cleveland Browns. Next up at 28th overall, it is the San Francisco 49ers. And I've been pretty consistent with them that it's got to be interior defensive lineman. And here I'm going to go with Peter Woods out of Clemson. Peter Woods certainly has been a little disappointing in 2025. He was my top overall player coming into the season. I think he was at least a top 5 player for pretty much everyone coming into the year. And he just hasn't been that on tape this year. You still see the flashes. You still see the athleticism, the run, stopping ability, the power that he's able to generate. You still see that. But it just hasn't been consistent in 2025. Still think he's worthy of a first-round pick. Would definitely still take a shot on him. And if Robert Saleh decides to stay in San Francisco as a defense coordinator, being able to be coached by a guy like Robert Saleh, I think would be good for Peter Woods. And I think he could, if he hits his potential, would be an electric defensive lineman for them. And then you've hopefully got a healthy Nick Bosa, maybe Michael Williams if he can hit his upside, and Peter Woods there on the interior. So I think this would be a really, really nice selection for San Francisco. Peter Woods probably won't fall this far, but man, if he does, San Francisco I think should sprint the pick card in. Next up, the Chicago Bears are on the clock, and it is going to be another defensive lineman. It is going to be Oregon defensive tackle Amari Washington. Amari Washington has been a guy that has flashed a lot in 2025. Really, really athletic at his size. Gets off the ball quick, shows a lot of power. And I know it was James Madison, but man, that first playoff game, James Madison had an Amari Washington problem. He was all in that backfield, making plays behind the line of scrimmage, just throwing offensive linemen past him and making the tackle. Really, really impressive to watch. But he was even flashing that against better competition. So just a really, really high upside player. I think can come in there with Gervon Dexter there on the interior. Would be a really, really nice young defensive tackle duo for the Bears. Next up at pick number 30, it is the New England Patriots. And I've been pretty consistent with this fit for New England. It is going to be Cassius Howell, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M. Cassius Howell has been a guy that I've really liked both in summer and in this draft cycle. Has probably the best spin move of any edge rusher in this class. It looks like he has practiced that every single day for the past 15 years. That's kind of a line from my guy Drew Beatty. He mentioned that when we did our edge rankings in the summer, but it's absolutely true. It looks super repeatable. It's fluid. It's athletic, but there's much more to his game. He's really athletic. I think he's flashed a lot more of that power aspect of his game in 2025, which you love to see. And I don't think he's that bad of a run defender. I don't think he's just a DPR. I think he can survive against the run. He doesn't have good length. He doesn't have great size or anything like that, but he plays hard against the run and gives effort in that scenario. But his ability to also drop into coverage is something that's really impressive. And you add him to that Mike Vrabel defense. I know, watching his defenses in Tennessee, there were a lot of times where the edge rushers were asked to drop in coverage and be versatile in those scenarios, and Cassius Howell can absolutely do that. Harold Landry has been really good for the Patriots this year, as has Caleb Von Chason. And you put Cassius Howell kind of as that edge 3 in that defense. I think that's a really good fit for Cassius Howell and for that New England defense. Next up at pick 31, it is the Denver Broncos, and I've also been consistent with this pick. This is one of my favorite fits as well. It is Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq. Sean Payton has been looking for that Joker role for a while there in Denver. Even though he hasn't been there for a long time, they still haven't found that role. It was going to be Evan Ingram, but Evan Ingram has continued to age and isn't the athlete that he used to be. So Kenyon Sadiq, insanely athletic at tight end. Maybe the most athletic tight end we've seen in the last couple drafts. Obviously, Brock Bowers was a great athlete but Kenyon Sadiq, at least to me, is kind of right up there in terms of explosiveness. Um, but he's the leaping ability. You see it when he hurdles people, when he, high points the football. Just insanely explosive. Still pretty raw in terms of route running. Still got to improve the hands. The hands have improved, but I'd still like to see steps taken in that category. But insanely high upside for Kenyon Sadiq. He competes as a run blocker, and I think you can move him all over the offensive formation, which is exactly what Sean Payton wants in that Denver offense. And rounding out this mock draft at pick 32, it is going to be the Seattle Seahawks. With them, I'm going to go with a guy that I've really come around on, and it is going to be Austin Seereveld out of Ohio State. He does play left tackle for Ohio State, but I think he's definitely an interior player at the next level. But I was really impressed by him, the tape that I watched, and we'll continue to get more tape on him throughout the playoffs as they go on. But Corey Kennedy is a guy that's really plugged into that Ohio State program, and he seems to think that Seereveld is going to declare. So went ahead and dove into his film, and I was really impressed with a lot of what I saw. I saw a good athlete. Doesn't have the length, which is why I would move him into the interior, but plays with power. I think the hand placement continues to come along. I think the footwork is there as well, and I think shows enough power to be able to drive defenders off the ball on the interior. So I think that would be a really, really good pick for Seattle. Kind of did that with Gray Zabel in last class. You do that again with Seereveld. You probably put Seereveld on the right side since you've got Zabel on the left side at left guard. And Anthony Bradford at right guard for Seattle has probably been one of the three worst football players in the NFL this year, up there with like Devin White from Las Vegas. So then you'd be moving to at tackle. You've got Charles Cross and Abe Lucas, which if Abe Lucas can stay healthy, that's a good tackle duo. And then you'd have a good guard duo with Gray Zabel and Austin Seereveld. So would be a really, really nice pick for that Seattle offensive line. And that does it for this mock draft. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, just make sure you go down below, drop a like, drop a comment, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That would let us know that you're enjoying the content, and we'll continue to bring more content like this to you throughout the draft season. But that does it for this video. Thank you guys again for watching. We'll see you guys next time.